You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Saving lives by selling collars, scrunchies, and swag. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That's BARKNWAG.com to see the awesome merchandise. Bark and Wag collars and leashes, collar covers, and decorative bandanas are perfect for your pooch. For the owner of the house, we have t-shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, hats, and even coasters. We are expanding monthly, so be sure to check back. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise too, so send an email to polly@barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to Kersti Nieto, professional dog trainer from Dog Training Camp USA in Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome, Kersti.
Hey, Polly. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thank you. So we have another question for one of our listeners, and all listeners, if you go on barkandwag.com, BARKNWAG.com, there's a section under the podcast tab where you can send us your questions. So anyway, Kersti, this one is, and I'm sure with all the rescue and dog training, you know how to handle this. How do I keep my dogs out of the trash?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think everybody deals with that throughout.
Oh my gosh. And when you walk home or come home, and there's trash all over. Like I've seen those Facebook posts.
Yeah, where they're
like with the garbage can top on like the golden retriever's head.
Yeah, or the guilty dog hiding, so you just see its tail.
Yeah. But so disgusting.
Yes.
So what are
and be dangerous too.
I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. Something getting caught in their stomach or intestines.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So for dogs getting in the trash, that's a big management issue with people. It's both training and it's also how we manage things within our houses. So to start off, before, if you're bringing your dog into the home or introducing them, you want to sort of dog proof it. Sort of like bringing a baby home, you're going to baby proof your house. So with trash, you want to make sure that it's got a good lid on it, or if you have a pantry or under a cabinet where you can put your trash can, that's always the best option, especially when you're first bringing a dog in.
Okay.
You kind of introduce your dog to the house and see how they do and see what they get into. But a big thing with any new dog I bring into my house, they don't have full freedom right away, so they have to earn that freedom in the house. So a new dog in your house really has no business running all over the house or being in a room unsupervised, because that time is really important for you to establish rules within your household. So bringing a new dog in, introducing them to the kitchen, and that's not to say, just be constantly staring at your dog when you bring them in, but just be there and present so that they go towards that trash can or they're a little too interested in it. You can go ahead and interrupt them, get in front of the trash can and move them away and, redirect them onto something else. So show them the right things to get into, their toys or a chewy. So they see, okay, I'm not supposed to get that, but I can get this. And my mom or dad really love it when I do that. So when you're giving them the appropriate things, you want to make a big deal and act silly and be genuine so they see that you're really pleased by it, because some dogs will get into the trash. And it's not just that it's worth it to taste all of those new and interesting things, but they also get a really big reaction, which to us, we might feel angry or frustrated, But to some dogs, they'll think, oh, my owner is yelling and excited, and all they hear is like, good boy from it. So you want to make sure that you're not giving lots of attention to that. You want, if you're, let me slow down.
Interesting.
So if you're introducing your dog to the house, they're not having the option to get into the trash right away, but you're also interrupting if they go near it. So you're kind of claiming the house. You interrupt when they go near it to tell them no or or just kind of move them away, and then show them their toys or show them their treats or their big bone or whatever, and make a big deal out of those things so they see, okay, this is what I'm supposed to go after. And then another thing that's important is I do like 3 strikes, you're out. So if it's something that they just will not leave alone, and say you're hanging out in the kitchen or you're making breakfast or something and your dog's with you, and they go to the trash and you move them away and tell them no, and then they go back a few minutes later and they keep on going back, a lot of times that's more for like the attention, or they don't believe you. So that's when I ended. I'll do 3 strikes, you're out. If I have to keep doing it, I'm going to, lead them to their crate, not as a punishment, not angrily, just, here you go, have your little nap, give them something to chew on in their crate. So you're not doing it out of frustration, but it interrupts what's going on, and then you can bring them out later when you're ready to try again, if that makes sense. Okay. So things like that, or even, if you don't use the crate, if you have a room where you want to put them that's like their little area, that's a good option too. Or even just totally changing what's happening. You know what, this isn't working, so let's go for a walk, or let's go play ball outside, something else to interrupt that loop of frustration and the dog enjoying that attention.
And besides the attention, that's something I've never even thought of. What about for the dogs that are food driven? Yeah. Like, how do you? I have a girlfriend who she had a puggle, and the puggle had figured out how to open the garbage drawer.
Oh my goodness!
And so they had this, super nice kitchen, and so she had the garbage on top of the counters.
Yeah, because you would get into it. Well, to me, I always go back to it. They're all different training styles, but if a dog can't handle that freedom in the house and they're just getting into things, to me, I would contain the dog instead of moving my trash can away. Okay. I mean, it is good. She put it on her counters. If she doesn't have a room like a pantry or, put the trash in the garage. So if the dog is only messing with the trash and nothing else, then I would say, okay, I'm going to, gate my trash away or put it in the bathroom when I'm gone or something. But if they're getting into the trash and doing other things, then I would just crate the dog because they don't have that respect for the house yet. Or not really for the house, but for your rules in the house.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it is. One of the things that you brought up is the safety. Mm-hmm. I never really, I do think about that, but not,
Yeah, cooked chicken bones or potato chip bags, that can be something that suffocates them. Poisonous thing, like foods that are okay for us to eat, but a dog eating a large amount of, like, all kinds of things in the trash could really hurt them. Or not even just small amounts of things, but if they ate a massive amount of whatever, tinfoil. I had one of my dogs before I was a trainer, he was my first dog, and I really didn't know much about dog ownership. Most people, you learn on the fly.
Sure.
But I had thrown away tinfoil that had bacon grease all over it, and I wrapped it up I balled it up, put it in the trash. And then later, Rudy had knocked the trash can over, torn up the trash, eaten all kinds of things. But the one thing I noticed was gone was that tinfoil ball. So we actually went to the vet, and he passed it just fine. But especially a little dog getting into something like that is going to have a bigger chance of getting it impacted in them. And that's a big surgery, not only dangerous to them, but it's also extremely expensive.
Yeah. No, right. It is. Yeah. Yeah, we have, I had a girlfriend whose mom's dog got into the garbage and ate a peach pit or peach.
Oh, yeah.
And the peach pit got lodged into the intestines.
My sister did that too.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast to talk about what to do when dogs get into trash.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on the podcast, and we look forward to having you back.
Same here. I'd love to come back anytime.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.